This is a battle in round 3 of the blue tournament. It's going to be Diplomat of the Wolf Clan versus... You know what? I changed my mind. I want it to be Achilles versus Happysouls, because then we're going to see Rome versus Ardiaei, which is an MLG matchup for sure. So we're going to have Happysouls of the First Guards clan commanding Rome, and AggonyAchilles commanding the Ardiaei. Great matchup. A quite peculiar build from Rome. It's the Battle of Alexandria. I quite like Achilles' build. And it's not that Ardiaei, one important thing to keep in mind is that with max 8 melee units allowed on the field, the discrepancy between the capabilities of Rome and Ardiaei become smaller, because the strength of Rome is in part being able to spam more cost-effective swords than most other factions. But if you limit those swords to 8, then Rome is going to have to either go for quality or quantity, and it looks like or quality or mediocre quality, and it looks like Happysouls has brought a mix of legionary cohorts, Praetorians, 3 Praetorians, veteran legionaries, legionary cohort. Then he has 4 Vigiles, 1 Legatus, the Caesar Legatus, or Caesar. Then he has auxiliary African elephants, 2 legionary cavalry. So this is a very peculiar Roman build, one that I haven't seen before. And against the Ardiaei, we'll see how it works. It's always hard to predict how these players are able to make these builds work. Although it's a build I personally haven't seen before, and against a faction I haven't seen it used against before, I'm sure that Happysouls either has very specific ideas of how to make it work, or has already tested this. Or is just banking on the fact that Rome craps all over Ardiaei in most cases. But under these rules, Ardiaei can bring more cost-effective spears than Rome, and of course the Axe Warriors and the Celtic Warriors, they are no match for units like veteran legionaries or Praetorians. But if the Illyrian noble hoplites are able to hold here, the flanks of Rome are going to disintegrate super quickly. Elephants are not going to be easy to use on this map. There are plenty of javelins for killing elephants, and there aren't really a lot of Roman units to tie down the javelin unit. So something that I don't like about the Roman build of Happysouls is that he only has 2 units of legionary cavalry to tie down units, while so he is potentially setting himself up for not being able to use his elephants effectively. And I think just doing the standard Roman thing against the Ardiaei and going 6 veteran legionaries, 2 Evocati for example, I think that would be a lot more useful, and then having some funds left for additional cavalry. Because even though cavalry isn't super strong on this map, it can be very useful for stopping javelins and getting into enemy units, rear charging and so on. Happysouls activating Wedge here for some odd reason. That would be the first time I've seen Wedge used in a cavalry on cavalry engagement in a long time. Maybe he just misclicked that, because it doesn't look like he has any intention of engaging. Vigiles moving out on the flanks to support. I'll just fast forward because there's not much happening at the moment, just some repositioning. Both players deciding where they want to take the engagement. Not a lot of skirmishers on the field, so where the engagement happens isn't massively important for Ardiaei, but of course having part of the forces in the forest is going to be helpful in neutralizing the elephants. So let's see, we can see more of the Ardiaei build now. So no, they went into hiding. So mystery Ardiaei build there. I think he had something like 6 noble hoplites, or 6 hoplites, 1 hoplite. Then a bunch of Illyrian raiders, axe warriors, Celtics, some Illyrian marines. Then he had slave slingers, javelins, and some peltasts. So what you would expect from Ardiaei under these rules, basically. Now the Illyrian noble hoplites are, for being hoplites, they are beasts. They are just not quite beastly enough to handle sword units convincingly. That's the problem. They have a good charge bonus for being hoplite units. If these guys would have gotten their melee attack up to, their mass up to super heavy and their melee attack up in the 40s, then they would have been a lot better, I think. They could have 70 health as well. Entirely justifiable. Roman forces slowly moving up. And in terms of Illyrian cavalry, usually the Illyrian cavalry is devastatingly outmatched on the field, so Ardiaei won't bring much of it. It's quite an interesting matchup between legionary cavalry and Illyrian cavalry, because legionary cavalry is also very crappy. But it only has, it still has its 15 bonus versus large, and so does the Illyrian cavalry, but the legionary cavalry has more melee attack and armor. But these units are great for rushing into already happening cavalry engagements. They cannot get charged, but if you're able to rush them in after the charge happens, then they can actually do a lot of damage with their 15 bonus. So Rome moving up. Ardiaei kiting the hell back. I think Ardiaei wants to take the engagement in the forest there, that's the thing. Yeah, looks like they're going for a nice holiday in the forest. And here comes the main engagement. Illyrian raiders up front, backed up by Axis and the noble hoplites. So let's see if Happysouls has the time to react here. Indeed he does. So these Illyrian raiders are going bye-bye, just disappearing. Then these Illyrian noble hoplites, they might do well on the charge against the Praetorians because they have a bigger charge bonus, but in the end, these noble hoplites, they really need to start hitting. Phalanx to make use of their bonus against large, or bonus against infantry. Sorry. Here comes the Illyrian cavalry trying to stop the elephants. They do manage to stop the elephants somewhat. A bit of friendly fire here from the legionary cohort, but stopping the elephants like this has allowed the slave javelins to pour the fire into the elephants. The elephants might be a non-factor in this battle at this point. Praetorians here winning against the raiders and the mercenary axes. The noble hoplites, the combat is even because mercenary axe warriors are in the second line here and should help a bit. Illyrian marines up close firing into the Praetorians, very nice there. They're actually killing quite a few Praetorians, but they need to be quick because these noble hoplites, they are not able to stack up well against. And here comes the elephants. The elephants really need to pull out here because they're about to get javelined in the face by the mercenary Celtic warriors. So this is what I mean by not having, and there we go, the elephants died. One elephant died. And this is what I mean by not having enough cavalry left to tie down the random enemy units that are moving around the flanks and trying to get at the elephants and such. Because obviously he doesn't want to use his... Happysouls doesn't want to use his legatus for this. And now he only has these vigiles to tie down the mercenary Celts and the Illyrian marines. So Rome moving around the flanks of Ardiaei, Ardiaei moving around the flanks of Rome. And again, the auxiliary African elephants are running amok because there were no units left here to stop... to really stop these guys. A valiant effort put off by the Ardiaei, but even being supported, the noble hoplites, they're just no match for the Praetorians. And although Achilles did some nice things here, he had some good ideas about how to engage Rome. The sad fact for the Ardiaei is that they are outmatched in swords, cavalry, skirmishing, special units. The only area they have an advantage over Rome in is in spears. And against the sword faction, that is of course not going to help them much. They did have an opening to be a very interesting faction when Illyrian Thureos spears were priced correctly. Then their creative assembly priced them incorrectly, and that made Ardiaei almost unplayable. And also, if you limit the amount of spears to a maximum of 8, it's going to be hard for the Ardiaei. They can still bring some nice builds, but I think a combination of melee units, hoplites, and 6 Levi Thureos or Illyrian Thureos, that's what really made Ardiaei interesting to play with. Thureo spam is quite fun, I think. It's like having peltasts that aren't completely useless in melee, and that can take care of enemy cavalry as well. So just a lot of Rome left on the field now. Every single unit of Ardiaei losing against every single unit of Rome. It's not going to be a good time. Elephants got some kills, but heroic victory for Rome, which is to be expected. The main line of Rome does well. Some surprising kills for the Vigiles here, and just... I mean, no, I'm not even going to say anything about how the units of Ardiaei did. It was interesting that Achilles tried his luck with Ardiaei against Rome, and it was interesting that we saw 3 Praetorians and an elephant against the Ardiaei. But Ardiaei against Rome is one of the toughest matchups in the game for Ardiaei. Strength and honor.